see my screen share right now, but this is Ed's. I took Ed's original puzzle template and then redid it with my own style of pieces, and you can see there is definitely you can definitely add more variation to the pieces themselves. This one's not solved, but
Chris, what did you use to create the variation?
Photoshop, and then I just created. I found a piece online that was, basically just a vector piece with kind of a puzzle, and then I overlaid that, and then it's definitely complicated, but once you do it a few times, you kind of get used to it. But I just put a couple macros in Photoshop and overlaid that piece, the vector piece, and then just it would select each piece real quickly, and I just export them out.
So
But
you kind of
yeah,
have your own homegrown slicing macros.
But not just that, Chris. I'm going to guess is that you either have a macro or a technique for solving the home positions, the solve positions for these.
yeah, use something similar to what you were talking about. I build the complete puzzle first, and then each of these templates are the same. So once I punched in the numbers here, then I could just reuse them in a table or whatnot. And then to solve the puzzle, I just did like you said. I would mark the position, the centerpiece, and then I would do a little bit differently because I'm not super in math. So I would just, as it's moving, when they let it go, I'm checking a boundary around the center point. So I take that center point and then I create a virtual boundary here. And then I say, something similar like, does that fall within that boundary? If it does, then snap it into place.
Oh, so within a rectangular boundary.
I think there's actually even a column cron or something where you can kind of create a virtual rectangle.
It's called bounds.
Yeah, bounds, exactly. And so I use that to just kind of check the distance as opposed to the square root style, and then so it's very similar, but it goes to show that I mean, my change didn't have anything to do with the code, minimally as much as just figuring out how to output these pieces, and that's if there was your masking idea is fantastic, and the simpler that it could be to output pieces, obviously the better. But anyways, it's funny because this was the first template I ever got just to study Corona, and here it is. It's years later.
It works.
Good job. Yeah, exactly.
And look at you now.
Hey,
I did all the talking, but I wanted to ask the other guys on the show to, you guys had input on this concept.
Yeah. So Barry, what's up? I thought you had some thoughts.
Well, yeah, I mean, sticking with this particular format, there's two things that strike me. One of them good and one of them probably a potential warning. One of the things that I like about this approach is that although you're just using essentially square-based puzzle pieces, you don't have to do that. You could, I mean, some jigsaw puzzles have circular ones, and as long as you're prepared to go through whatever process you have to chop them up and store the pieces, you could have triangular piece jigsaws, hexagonal ones, squiggly, whatever. Anything will work with this, and that's something that I really like about this approach. The warning that I have, because this translates from real jigsaw puzzles, is you must be very careful when you make the pieces that they either have unique shapes, or as in every single piece is unique, or they don't look the same. So you have two pieces that are identical, but one might be filled with a design, one might be filled with, let's say, sky. Because the worst thing that can happen is you have a beautiful panoramic image of whatever scenery, and there's a big blue sky, and then you have 5 tiles all with the same shape and essentially the same color, because only one of them will fit correctly. So you either have to have every tile with unique pattern or every tile with unique shape. That's the only thing, otherwise it will get frustrating for the users.
But I like it to be frustrating for the
users. That's an in-app purchase. You can unlock that piece.
Unlocking.
Yeah, so I see what you're
Yeah.
saying. So you've got three blue tiles that look all exactly alike, and you grab one and go to put it in place, and the app says, nope, sorry, that's not right. And you're like, well, how can it not be right? Because I have two other pieces that look just like it.
Yeah, when I built on mine, I made sure that the image, there was enough, little pieces or just a little marking, on certain shapes to kind of at least give an indicator that, it goes somewhere, and they looked, a little bit different.
But you're manually massaging your pieces, though, right, Chris?
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
Massaging them.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're very happy pieces.
Oh, yeah,
Some quiet music.
You can make a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, and then the one that gets lost in the box in real life. That's the in-app purchase that you hide until you're very nearly finished.
Oh, right. There you go. You've almost got it done.
That's a technique for making money. I love it.
Would you like to complete the puzzle? Just click here. That's hilarious. Sergey, did you have any thoughts on this?
I'm hungry.
You're hungry. Okay.
And it's all Harry's
I
fault.
wondered, you guys.
Watching, yeah. I mean, the other thing about a jigsaw puzzle is there's so many ways of expanding on it, and I think it makes, more than anything else in all of these games, it makes for a very good test project for people to practice on, because there's so many ways of expanding it, but still ending up with a complete game. There's this version from Ed, and then the next stage would be, well, not the next stage. We were talking about dynamically generating images. That's actually quite complicated, whichever way you look at it. But then there's things like having the pieces snap to each other when they're not in position. And that just involves comparing each piece against everything else in a recursive fashion, so that you can build it like a real-world jigsaw. And these are all various problems that you can add in to make it more complicated as you want and as you're learning. But even at this stage, you end up with a complete program, and I think that that's really useful.
From childhood, I remember nice jigsaw puzzles that the shapes were exactly the shapes of the objects, like dog shape, or a cake, or something, or a table, and you put them in. I haven't seen such games on App Store. Maybe I was not looking precisely enough, but it could be a nice application for someone to build. If there
Yeah,
isn't
it doesn't
any
have to
already.
be a complete jigsaw. It could just be the pieces that need to be in the right positions.
Yeah, they have that in the kids section. My daughter has
Okay.
those where they.
Is anyone still in touch with, what was her name? Batgirl from the IRC channel? Because basically
Laura,
was jigsaw puzzles.
Right.
she had animated jigsaw puzzles, I think.
Yeah.
But
Which
they were shaped like normal jigsaw.
I'm not in direct touch with her, but she's on the Developer Exchange Facebook group. And I could, if anybody wants an invitation to, I think it's an invite only, but any member can invite any other member. So, shoot me an email.
Very cool. So, Ed, could you get to the point where you actually snap a photo with your camera, with your phone, and then have a jigsaw puzzle from that, like on the fly?
Absolutely. Using the technique that I just talked about, the one that I'm not going to give away for free, the very cheap module that I'm not quite finished polishing off, you could literally create an app, take photos, produce a number of preset puzzle masks, and then use your photos, use the masks, same technique, boom, puzzle.
Because that seems to give it a little bit of a pizzazz, right? That you're not just dealing with a prefab. You're kind of like it really seems magic then, because you're like, hey, I took that photo and now it's a puzzle. And
Right? People love those things. I'm not sure why, but I do understand.
yeah, why do we put puzzles together to begin with? I mean, why don't we just buy a picture and put it on the wall? It's the human brain.
Yes, it is.
All right, was that it? Is that all we want to talk about?
That's it. I think we
Okay.
covered all the aspects. Oh, what are we supposed to be talking about next week? I didn't do my homework here.
Oh, I don't know. We'll announce it later in the week.
Okay. We've got a list of things.
Yeah, got enough going on right now. So there you go. What you want to do next is go to the show notes and download the code. As you saw or couldn't see if you were listening to the podcast, is that it's very well documented and everything that you need is there. And if you need some advanced features, something that's not provided, go check out Ed's templates. He's got a lot of great stuff over there that you can utilize, and also be sure to check out the SSK when it comes out, the re-release, or the release of, is it the re-release?
It's a re-release.
It's the re-release of SSK. Go check that out, because again, if you were listening to the podcast and you didn't see on the screen, there's a cheat sheet that Ed presented. It has 3 pages worth of material on it. Single space, by the way, that demonstrates all the hard work that he's put into it, and in 10-point font, 9-point font, but yeah, lots of work there. So go check that out and give it a shot as well. All right,
hey, Charles. One little note for folks: when they download the Jigsaw example, make sure to go into the assets folder. There are a bunch of other images that they can use that are all ready to go to make their own cut-ups, so they can practice.
Okay, good deal.
Not just the 2 that you saw, but there's like a dozen of them.
And if you guys know of a filter or some sort of plugin or add-on that you use in Photoshop or GIMP or whatever art program that you use, let us know. We'd be glad to share that with everybody as well. Okay, I think that's it. So thanks for joining us. We'll be back here next Monday, 12 p.m. Pacific, to talk all about mobile app development using Corona SDK. Until then, have a great week and happy coding.